yes, this session is being recorded. Yes, you will get a follow-up with material. Okay, so you don't have to ask the question, is this being recorded? Can I get the presentation? All right, so hello everyone. Thank you for joining episode number 50 of Do More with Qlik. This one is called Unlock the Power of Data with Qlik Cloud Part 2. My name is Michael Trollo. I'm a Principal Technical Marketing Manager with Qlik. I've been here for about over 12 years, been in the BI, data analytics, data integration space, over 20 right now. Today, we are going to pick up where we left off in the December session, covering this customer churn application that Rocco presented to us. And this time we're going to show you more behind the scenes. And what I have for you today is our special guests. We have Rocco Pecora, Senior Manager of Offerings Management, and Wadi Lamoni, who's our Qlik web developer on the Qlik demo team. Rocco joined me in December to present part one of the presentation, which incorporated AutoML, application automation, generative AI capabilities, along with both, traditional and predictive analytics. And we got such a great response to it. People wanted more, and they wanted to see more behind the scenes. So Rocco and Wadi had offered maybe a part two to this existing session would be good. And that's where we are today. So Rocco and Wadi, say a quick hello, and you guys can introduce yourselves more formally before you start presenting.
Hello, everybody. Happy to be here.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. Thanks, Mike.
No problem. No problem. And I'm happy to have you guys here as well. It's awesome always having expertise along with me in these presentations. Also, I like them because then I don't have to prep as much because you guys are doing a lot of the legwork going forward for these types of presentations. Now, this is very important. On the last Do More webinar, I addressed common centrally managed reporting and distribution requirements with our new tabular reporting capability. I showed you how to create highly formatted report templates from existing Qlik Cloud Analytics and data visualizations using our Microsoft Excel add-in, and then showed you how to create tasks directly in Qlik Cloud Analytics to set up recipients, scheduling, and distribution. So if you missed this, you can see this in the Qlik archive on the Qlik YouTube channel, in the Do More with Qlik webinar playlist. Please note, there is going to be a part two of this in the next Do More session that I'll cover at the end of my housekeeping slides in March. And it's specifically going to be targeted, shifting the focus on end-printing users and to learn more about the migration and coexistent process. So if you're an existing end-printing customer or end-printing user, which was the operational reporting element that we offered within Qlik, you might want to join that session. And that being said, if you missed any of the previous Do More with Qlik sessions, you can always check them out in the Do More with Qlik library, which includes 40 plus. Actually, it's going to be 50 soon and counting. This is available as a link that's sent to you via email, and the most recent sessions are also available on their YouTube channel playlist. And also, don't forget, time these days is of the essence. If you want to learn something quick, whether it's a solution, a feature, a capability, a certain outcome or getting results, you might want to check out the Qlik YouTube video channel. We have a number of solution-oriented videos on there, including shorts, which can range anywhere from 20 seconds to, let's say, 60 seconds, right? It's a great way to get some quick education or knowledge on what's being put out there, possibly, as I've been told, inspire you to do more with Qlik and seeing things that maybe you weren't aware of. So please be sure to check that out as well. Okay, and then here we go. Come on, I'm clicking my screen. It's not advancing. There we go. And then on the next Do More episode, actually, it's probably going to be episode 51. I didn't error on that slide. March 27th at 10 a.m., tabular reporting part 2 for end printing customers. Special guest product manager Andrew Kruger and principal platform architect Johnny Poole for part 2 of the tabular reporting presentation that I presented in January. In this session, we're basically showing the migration path for end printing users, exploring available utilities, migration process, and best practices for seamless transition and coexistence. Okay, so the overall goal is to gain insight on the various aspects that are going to be inherent for migrating and printing content to the tabular reporting capability. So I definitely hope to see you guys there. All right, so Rocco, I'm going to turn it over to you onto the main event, and you can share your screen whenever you're ready. The rest of the audience, I'll be monitoring the chat and Q&A, and might be asking, answering some of your questions in between. If not, we're going to wait towards the end of the presentation. Okay, Rocco, over to you.
Sounds good. I think you need to stop presenting before I could take it.
There we go.
All right, cool. All right, welcome back, everybody. Just to do a quick intro into my partner in crime, Wadi. He helped me and always kind of supports me through some of these development processes, and he's one of our best developers here at Qlik. So Wadi, if you want to just give a quick introduction to yourself before we kind of get going.
Yeah, thanks. I'm Wadi Limoni. I am a web developer with the Qlik demo team. I've been with the team for 3 years now, and prior to that, I was a web developer for different marketing agencies, was responsible for creating custom web apps, websites, web solutions for different customers. So on the demo team, I'm responsible for building nice demos that you know and like, and anything from Qlik web apps to mashups, utilizing APIs and all of the Qlik libraries. And you can find me on a Qlik community on the Qlik design blog. I try to post a blog showing best practices every now and then.
Yeah, between Mike and Wadi, I don't think you guys could ask for much more. But everything between SCO, Qlik Connect, any of our Qlik World tours, you've definitely seen Wadi's work on the screen. Thank you, Wadi. So Wadi will be joining me today. Obviously, we've mentioned this is part 2 of a presentation we did in December. I'm Rocco Pecora. I've spent 7 years as a consultant within Qlik, and then 3 years kind of on the corporate side, deploying Qlik across multiple industries, such as life sciences, retail, energy, financial services, etc. I think one of the things I'm most focused on is helping customers adapt and evolve the way that they build the experiences that are now available in Qlik Cloud with all of the cloud-based technology, and then obviously all of the cool stuff that's coming out with AI, machine learning, and all of those old hard parts that used to be really easy to do now, which we'll show today. So very quickly, just a quick introduction into what we're presenting. We're going to be focused on obviously the analytics top right side, but to give you kind of a quick flavor, right? This is kind of how you can almost imagine certain elements of Qlik Cloud within the development lifecycle of analytics, BI, also users, right? Going from source systems, being able to have a catalog, almost like a data marketplace to be able to either create something if you're kind of a contributor persona around the developer, or consume, right? Understand and act on things. Today, we're going to be focused on essentially everything you're seeing in this pink circles. And I think it's important to call out what we're doing in a single application, right? So this application Wadi and I built last year for a couple different reasons. It's very siloed and focused on specific analysis pathways, which we'll walk through in a second. But it's also important that as we've acquired so many companies and we release new features, it is important that you guys all understand kind of how everything is pieced together and what's being used when and where. And it's really all around developing these ecosystems. There is a sequential kind of life cycle to this, right? Really starting with a foundation of data, whether you're building pipelines. Obviously, we have Talend, we have all of these Qlik Cloud DI capabilities around change data capture, data warehouse automation, and essentially just being able to build out this foundation of data pipelines and real-time data movement that offer governed BI frameworks, whether it's guided and self-service, SQL pushdown, mapping, reporting, mobile or embedded. Really, once you build out those channels of BI, you can start offering what we call trusted AI experiences, which do involve governance, which do involve domain-specific logic that is ingrained already into your enterprise reporting. So it's all about building these experiences off of this governed BI and data foundation. So today we're going to present the same application we did in December. It's based on telecommunications customer churn data, right? And the important thing today is to understand where we've gone as a vendor within analytics, right? I mean, if you look at just the nucleus of this diagram with the brain, with the analytics engine, the data model and business logic, visualizations and front end, that's essentially traditional BI, right? Not much has changed in that little nucleus from QlikView to QlikSense to QlikCloud, QlikSense, right? But as you start adding in supplemental technologies that complement the experience, that interact with the associative engines, such as automations that distribute communications to multiple different channels, integrating AI and machine learning in multiple different facets, right? Either in the automation side or at the analytics side. And then what we're doing to kind of enable vocabulary controls and all of these generative AI capabilities that need to be trusted and governed, right? So now these applications really, they live and breathe, they think and act, right? You can set conditions within that engine that kick off an automation in a different source system, like a CRM or an ERP. You don't always have to be there manually. You can start essentially programming your business processes just based off what you already know about your analysis. And that's kind of what we're going to focus on today. I'm going to do a quick review of the front end, and then Wadi and I are going to walk through the back end. When we say walk through the back end, we're going to show you all of the components that have been developed for this specific solution, right? So for AutoML, we built a model off a training data set. We created an experiment, and we'll show you how we're using the real-time prediction APIs with the service-side extensions within our engine to create kind of a real-time decision science tool using the predictable elements of your machine learning model. Automations will show how we're leveraging these across the different experience of the users, whether it's just building out distribution of information in Teams or in a PDF to go to another team, like escalating to a resolution, which is part of the analysis, or leveraging AI, right? The load editor, we're going to show you the back end and what we've done with the OpenAI connector and the ability to build prompts with fields already existing inside of your application just by concatenating the fields, right? So you'll see some creative aspect to that. And then overall, the decision science, the last piece is where it really all comes together, where what if analysis is kind of taking that next step, leveraging these predictable elements from AutoML. So as we walk through these three different analysis pathways, right, these are the different parts of the platform that's super focused. We are building all of this on Qlik Cloud. FYI, everything you're seeing is a cloud-based product in Qlik Cloud. We're using machine learning and data science in 2 of the 3 analysis. We're using AI focused on kind of reviewing customer sentiment. And then automations are the last mile for every user we have, right? So you'll see how this takes place. And the one thing that I wanted to kind of just re-emphasize for all my developers on the call, but also any business stakeholders on the call, right? Anyone who's been around Qlik or BI and analytics in general, right? You can start understanding the trail of analysis your users take, right? And some of this is already canned and industrialized into KPI P&L reporting, right? If your executives get KPI sent to them in a very kind of like nested format, like that is the trail, right? And then everything else might be ad hoc. What I want to focus on for developers is really focusing on building around the analysis that already take place. Don't go off into the bushes away from where your users are. I'm focused on essentially what I said earlier, evolving the way that our users experience information and data inside of Qlik Cloud, leveraging all the technology that's available today. If you're still building out traditional BI experiences, then your organization, you have a lot of growth to start understanding and mapping out how to evolve this. So that's one thing that I want to just point out, because coming from the consulting side, and all this new technology and everybody trying to imagine how to use everything together, developers need to know they can build it, and the business needs to know they can ask for it. So it's really important that both parties kind of nurture that conversation. So just to kind of kick off and move into the demo.
And Rocco, I'm going to interrupt you right here real quick. So for comfort, for those of you on the call, everything that Wadi and Rocco were talking about is in some form or fashion in a more detailed, granular manner in the Qlik YouTube channel, in our educational materials on the community. So for example, if Wadi's going to show integration with Microsoft Teams notification through application automation, or integration with Amazon Bedrock or OpenAI and ChatGPT, there are smaller digestible videos in the channels that I already shared with you that will walk you through those steps. So they're not going to go through complete how-tos here for all of those pieces that are mentioned, but just have the comfort that if you want to integrate that, you can see the more granular, inspirational type of how-tos on the YouTube channel and in our other materials. Go ahead, Rocco.
Thank you, Mike. I mean, thank you for that, because that's essentially what we're doing here, right? We're taking a variety of elements within our platform and building out a specific experience. So if any of the subtopics interest you, yeah, please visit some of those sites because everything's there.
Correct.
So, before I let Wadi kind of, jazz it up, I'm going to do the review just through the front end, right? This is a dashboard. This is old BI. This is only to show you guys the data set, right? This is the telecommunication customer data. What we've done with the data set in raw format is we've pushed it through a machine learning model ranking system, right? AutoML, an algorithm. And what we want to do is essentially take every field in this data set and turn it into an influencer and understand how it's going to influence the target that we have, which is churn, whether a customer is at risk of staying or leaving. So what we're going to do is show you the back end, right? And AutoML and how this kind of pieces together. But just to kind of, give you the circular reference of the front end. So when you push the data set, just one table through a machine learning algorithm, it's going to offer you something called SHAP importance ranking. This essentially tells you what fields in your data set are the variables that influence your target most. I call them influencers, right? Influencers of churn, because that's essentially what it's telling me. It's telling me plan type, base fee, and number of penalties are the top 3 influencers, whether a customer will stay or go. At a very bird's eye, high level view, this may not be rocket science. It may not be that enlightening. You may sit there as a subject matter expert at your organization and say, well, of course, plan type is the #1 influencer. I don't think the power of all of this comes down to the general bird's eye view, top down, that we're looking at. It comes when you drill down into a granular account with the engine and you have row level interpretation, which we'll show throughout the demo. So the 3 pathways that we've called out on managing churn is identifying low ROI customers, retaining high ROI customers, and managing customer reviews and sentiment. So those are the 3 pathways we're going to go through that I mentioned earlier. Here, we've brought in, right, the machine learning predictability pieces to start creating an analysis interface for our users to identify low ROI customers. And right when they're done with that analysis path, right, they can escalate this data set right to the resolution team or any other third-party group, right? The idea is that this individual, this group of users have already ran their analysis and we've automated their next step. No opening up a new tab, no downloading and right-clicking this table. It's just escalating to resolution team, pressing this button. This table is sent via Teams, Slack, PDF, Excel, whatever output you want, but it's essentially automating that next step. The AI piece, right? This is AI in 2 flavors. We have AI built into an automation to review new reviews that come through, right? So these are 2 recent reviews that we just got. So what the automation AI connector does is it will sit there and read the review and first flag it as positive or negative, right? Simple sentiment analysis. Then the second step is if it is negative, have the AI generate a suggested response, which here you can see. And then users can come and change the writing style. They can change the language if that's a requirement. And again, it's leveraging AI in a data enrichment process, right? Reviewing the reviews, but also in real time, leveraging the engine so users can kind of have the ability to kind of change things on the fly. And again, shoot this over to any other user that they would need. Or back into a marketing system, back into the CRM. Essentially, the automation can shoot that information into any other source system and build out that kind of like a reciprocal ecosystem for your users. And then the third piece is retaining high ROI customers. This is, really kind of the holy grail when users can build and simulate decision science on the fly in real time, leveraging governed data sets, but also a trusted machine learning predictability element. So this is kind of the front end of the application. It's very focused. It could be a lot bigger. We've all seen applications that are a lot larger, but this is just to kind of bring together all of these concepts into a simple interface. And to keep in mind, right, if you actually think about this as a single dashboard, everything we've built off is off of one KPI. So it's pretty incredible just coming from a developer standpoint, what I've done with just one KPI, and this would be one solution or one report out of dozens or hundreds at my organization. So there's a lot of growth in terms of building out these enhanced experiences. All right, so that's the front end. We're gonna kick off the first chapter of the back end, which is AutoML. Going into my Qlik Cloud tenant, I'm going to go into one of my spaces that Wadi and I develop off of together. We're going to go to Solution Kit Churn. So here you can see all of the different, artifacts and assets that I have within this space that Wadi and I work on within this data set. You have our data, our training data, you have the prediction data that's came out of machine learning, you have our applications, and you even have the ML experiments and deployments. So I'll open up the AutoML experiment. And what you're going to see is, right, a list of rankings. First, by version, we ran a couple of versions of this model, and then the algorithm. So once you create a training data set, it does require think of it as a historical binary classification field. In layman terms, for this data set, we needed historical data that showed us, did a customer stay or go? Yes or no? And that's kind of what the AutoML kind of builds the mathematical operations off of. So that is a prerequisite, keep in mind, and you're giving it a target to shoot at, right? So I think that's kind of the main idea. And once you do that, AutoML auto ranks multiple algorithms based on your training data set. And it makes it very easy, right? So going into permutation importance, how much does the model rely on each feature, or what we talked about, SHAP importance? On average, how much does each feature influence the prediction of churn? So here you can see these visualizations already coming out of the AutoML, right? So this is actually very helpful for any advanced BI developers or data scientists that you have at your organization that want to build closer to the analytics that are already making decisions off of, right? And not only that, but if I wanted to come here and change this algorithm to this one, here I can see the difference that one algorithm would have than another. And that is something that you can tinker with. You can configure to a V3, you can deploy. So you have a lot of, different capabilities to review and refine. You also have this configuration pane. Wadi, sorry, I'm going to keep talking. Do you want to chime in on any of this real quick?
No, I think you're doing a good job at explaining everything. I just to backtrack, this is an already existing experiment that we have started creating. Now, if you are starting from scratch, obviously would go to your add new, create an experiment, and that's where you select your target from your training data set. And just talking about training data set, I think it's important to let everyone know that a training data set containing historical data, that's your responsibility to bring in, right? And that data set is going to be important for the model to work off of. So it needs to be clean. You need to watch out for any data leakage. You need to do some feature design, etc. And there's actually a good course on learning.qlik.com that goes over all of that, just to prepare that training data set in order for AutoML or the machine learning model to bring in good results or good predictions. So going back to, so this is where you created the experiment. This is where you review and refine. And like you said, Rocco, we've already gone through version 1. We made some changes and then run the ML experiment again. And we're now on version 2, which if you go back to the experiment itself, that's where our top performing algorithm, depending on, well, based on different scores, we got the F1 score, the precision, the accuracy have been selected for us from Qlik. Right, so like on version 2, we can still do some refining, some changes to the number of features to be selected, which algorithms to include, etc., and run it again for a version 3. And this is not like a one-off thing. You can keep refining the model and to get better results.
Hey, Rocco and Wadi, just a quick question. Did you show the actual training data set, Rocco, just to show the audience that it's nothing more than your typical historical data that you would normally perform your analysis on, but it has a target, like for example, a binary yes or no. For example, did the customer churn, yes or no? That way they can see that there's really no magic under this. It's that when people use AutoML, we don't want them to think that you're going to point this directly at your analytical data that you're creating your charts and visualizations on. You're actually having a data set created with that data, but that target specifically saying, you know, based off of these factors, for example, did a customer churn? And if the answer was yes or no, that's the training data set in the form of a Parquet file or a CSV file that you're loading into AutoML. So I don't know, did you have that?
I showed it in the front end, but I'll show you guys right now just to kind of demystify
good. I just wanted
right?
I wanted to let them see that's the actual training data, which is, you know, the algorithms are running off of. Could you just do the rows, sample data rows, fields? Yep, there you go. Yep, there it is.
All right. So this is the raw data, right? It's the same data I showed on the app in the front end when I showed you how we're fortifying this. This is the binary historical field that I said is required for the machine learning to have a target, right? Churned, yes or no. This is historical data out of a CRM. You probably have historical data for whatever you're essentially measuring, and it just creates that target. So if I go back into the experiment and I show you kind of the data view of this experiment, give my internet a chance, right? You can see this target is here on churned, and that's what the target of the machine learning model is, right? So if I go back into the space, right, this is where I have everything nicely organized. You can see the SHAP values and the prediction data that came out of the machine learning model, right? And this is essentially going to be binary fields between 0, negative and 1. And it's going to be able to show you the predictability, which we'll get to in the application. So that kind of demystifies that piece. Let's just go into the experiment in the deployment real quick, so you can see that piece. So the machine learning requires two steps, right? It requires the experiment, which is essentially giving it training data and building the model. Then the next piece is going to be the deployment. The deployment is essentially the data that's came out of it that you are going to bring back into your data model, back into your application. So here you can see the data that I have in this experiment. You can see the data set predictions as well, right? And then you have the real-time predictions. So this real-time prediction API, this is where you can essentially begin building out that interaction of leveraging these predictable elements in a very kind of fast-paced experience for your users. It doesn't have to be a clunky kind of experience as you'll see in the front of our apps. Mike or Wadi, is there anything you guys want to like add on to this? Because I know there's a little bit more you can.
Yeah, so the deployment, like you said, is basically applying that machine learning model onto a data set that we call the applied data set, right? That's the Qlik word for it. So that's just your current data set that you want to apply the model on and make your predictions off of. Rocco is showing here an API that Qlik AutoML offers, which is the real-time prediction API. And what this is basically for developers out there to tap into this API endpoint. So basically you just use that API URL, you authorize it using your API key that you would grab from the from your tenants console, and then just send requests to this API through JSON, send in all the different features. Usually you'd use variables to put in new values for the features. For instance, like plan type, if you're doing a what if analysis situation scenario, you'd send in, for instance, for a particular account ID that's using a red plan type, for instance, you'd want to see how the prediction would change if it's a blue plan type. So you'd send that to the API, and it will come back with the real-time response of the new prediction that would let you kind of visualize how that changes with different scenarios.
And to just kind of bring it back all, like I kind of just want to show you guys, like you can create a very easy key that you're already using in your data set. So again, building this out closer to the analytics and the data schemas that you're already making decisions and reporting off of is the value proposition of having AutoML so close to Qlik Cloud, right? And the ability, we've all built data models here in Qlik, the ability to just add these back into your interface is so incredibly easy. From the data model, it's just drag and drop, right? You don't even have to do the bubbles. Qlik will just, the engine just loads and will read the account ID as the key field, and it's already bringing in these capabilities. And what this does is on the influencer piece, right? And Wadi, feel free to chime in when we go into this next sheet. But this is where you can bring these back into these visualizations, right? So like we had number of penalties from historical data set in this data model, but we also have, the predicted to churn based on the historical number of penalties. So there is a differentiation in how to leverage these fields once you bring them back into the data model. Wadi, should I open up any of these charts?
If you go back to the previous sheet, just to cover a little bit so like we said, after you've deployed your machine learning model, used an applied data set there, it gives you out a couple files, including the SHAP files, SHAP coordinates that you can, like Rocco said, include in your data model in your Qlik Sense app to analyze it further. So for instance, here on this sheet, we have the SHAP importance ranking, and what that means is just which of these fields, these influencers, have an impact on the target outcome, which is in this case our churn. So we can see that plan type is the most impactful feature there.
And just to pause, which makes sense, right? In this business model, they use the red plan for introductory low base fees to capture net new customers, and then they try retaining them in some of these other plans. So just looking at the influence of cancellation in these plan types, you can instantly see that a red plan is a little bit more volatile, maybe based on its premise comparatively to those other three.
Right. Same goes for base fee. You can see there that as the base fee increases, goes towards that top right corner. As the base fee increases, that increases our SHAP value for base fee, and so it has a positive impact. A positive SHAP value has a positive impact on our target, and since our target is customer churning, or at least at risk of leaving, then a higher SHAP value would mean customers there in red are most likely to churn, which is based on a higher base fee. Yep.
So just to kind of keep it moving, that's how we create the machine learning model based on the training data set. We've shown how to bring it back into the app, just to kind of do another demystifying, right? Here is the backend load editor, right? Here is the connector for AutoML, where you can pick the versions you've created, right? So for customer churn, I have 2 different models, and I've also built models for other use cases, right? And I can include all of these different data sets, or maybe 1 or 2 of them, and I can even call out the association field I want in the data model, right? So it's very easy to kind of get up and running, and it's really helpful to, again, evolve the experience of your users leveraging existing data they already have, right? I think that's kind of the beautiful thing of this is you can be an organization, you can have data that's sitting there historical, and you can begin prototyping it with machine learning and seeing what to do within the interface for your users to support them however they need, right? For this instance, I needed my users to be laser sharp on identifying low ROI customers and instantly sending these groups back to the resolution team. So just to kind of take one step backwards, we brought in the AutoML, right? I do want to show just the reality of the automations 1 second is we have a few automations inside of this. We have 3, right? We have 1 for Teams, we have 1 going to a CRM, and we have 1 for OpenAI. The idea of this, again, is building these around what the users needs. So in this example, we've walked through the AutoML, right? And now we're kind of finishing it with automation. So if I wanted to, kind of drill down, call out these low ROI customers and raise this to another group, I can instantly do that, right? Just using automation. This is just, me mimicking this use case, but I can send this data to whoever I need, right? And it just makes it very easy for these types of users inside of Qlik Cloud to execute what they need as next steps without opening a new tab, dealing with single sign-on, anything. They can just press the button, and I think that's pretty powerful. So the next analysis is AI and customer reviews. So for this, as I mentioned, we have automation AI connectors for OpenAI, as well as AWS Bedrock, Lambda, a bunch of different connectors. So it's really important to think about the 2 tiers we have here. We have AI being used in a parallel work stream, a data enrichment process, review sentiment, right? And create a suggested response. to kind of let us go back into the back end, here is where, and Wadi, I'll let you chime in, but this is
Yeah.
where we've created a prompt using fields that already exist to interact with the AI. And I'll let Wadi kind of describe it.
Correct. So on the sheet where you were just a minute ago, well, there's a few things going on here. So with our OpenAI connector, you can do things in different ways, 2, 3 ways. So we have here a table that shows the latest customer reviews. For demo purposes, this is just an inline table we have in our load script. And you can see the AI generated response as the last column there. Now, how this works is, if going back to the load script, Rocco, this is really leveraging the OpenAI connector from the load script itself. So this is right here. We have a table with 2 reviews, but this again can be data that you bring in from a CRM, from HubSpot, for instance. And then what you do is create a prompt. You can see it there on line 7 with concatenated fields that will serve as a input for the OpenAI call, right? So each row here of this data will have a prompt to it that will be sent to OpenAI, and then OpenAI will respond back with an answer to that prompt. So there we're just asking, if you go back, we're just asking OpenAI what answer based on all those concatenated fields should we write back to this customer to retain them, right? Now, if you go to the last section of the script, the OpenAI connector, you can see here that, this is a generated script from, if you were to create a OpenAI connector from your connectors, you can just include this from the table feature. And so what this does here is, these are the responses we get back, or the table of responses we get back from OpenAI. And what we're most interested in here is the choices.message.content on line 11. That's the field we get back from OpenAI that contains the response. And you'll see here that our prompt was sent on line 15 using the script eval. This is just an SSE, server-side extension, that we use to send the prompt to OpenAI and get back the response.
And now, Wadi, I just wanted to interrupt right here. So this part here is just actually including the response from the large language model, ChatGPT, OpenAI, whatever people refer to, as part of the data model.
Correct.
So this is not necessary to have. We can return the response directly in the chart object, directly within the object that you showed before. So this is not necessary. This is only if you want to include this as part of your data model.
Exactly. This is one way of doing it. This is including it in the data model. It will also allow you to have that association with the account ID. So now when you load your data, if you go back to the sheet, you'll have all those responses as part of your data model. And that's what we have on that table. It's already there. Now, Mike just mentioned having the response come back from an expression itself. And Rocco is demoing that right now. So if you notice on the text and image object down below, he just tweaked a few variables, including the language and the writing style. Now, OpenAI is thinking, because in that text and image object, we have an expression that automatically sends a request to OpenAI demanding a response based on a prompt that we ask for within the expression.
Wadi, I just wanted to also come addressing a question that came up, is that please understand that you're responsible, and I mean you as in the stakeholders for the BI developments, whether you're customers or partners, to have that relationship with the large language model provider, whether it's Amazon Bedrock or it's OpenAI. You're setting up your tokens, your secret keys, the paid relationship. All we're doing is connecting to it, passing the required prompt via the required APIs of those solutions, and then returning those results back and then integrating it with our product. So understand there's, you're restricted by the vendor you're connecting to. And Wadi's showing, or Rocco's showing, the authorization API key, right? The configuration for the model selected, the different parameters like temperature or the number of tokens to be used. The more tokens, the more verbose the responses. Okay, so this is not Qlik dependent in the sense that it's like we're controlling everything. You are responsible for that relationship. Okay, we're just connecting to it. And then you'll have to, work with that vendor to understand how many tokens am I going to use based off of the response that I want back, et cetera. We provide you with all of the options, whether you want it real time back in a chart, or you want to actually have it go row by row by row and preload a data model and then store those responses in a repository that you can use, for example, for a customer service response or a reviews response. Okay, go ahead, Wadi.
Correct.
Well, and just to say that last piece for Mike is, it is up to you to test and prototype the models. I can tell you, since Wadi and I have built this, OpenAI has done a couple updates that have made a couple things error out and we had to go update. I don't know if you call that AI ops, but there is a degree where it is up to you to kind of test and prototype these models, right? AWS Bedrock, when you connect into that, you have the ability to pull in meta models, Anthropic models, Claude Insight. Claude 9 is a big model used here in Qlik. So it is up to you to kind of decipher which model's best for you and the use cases you need, right? OpenAI does have that bridge back into the internet. So if you were ever going to use it for like a context tool for your users to ask a question about, an example could be the economy based on the fact that this is a banking customer. Those are things that are up to you to understand what work best within your ecosystem. We're providing connectivity into those technologies to leverage with your governed enterprise BI. Wadi, anything? I mean, for this, I think this is just showing the connector.
Yep.
We just showed them that. Do
Yeah,
we want to
would you
pull
like
in
to the expression that powers that text and image?
Yep.
Just edit it, just to show how easy it is to bake that connection right into your analytics app. So you'll see here, we're making use of the connector itself through that server-side extension, which is just a fancy way of saying that little script there that runs from line 8 to line 14. So what we're doing there is just referencing the connector. That's our solution kit, churn, OpenAI churn. We're getting back the column choices.message.content, if you remember that from the other way of doing it in the Qlik load script. And then we're just sending our prompt. So we're saying translate the following text, and we're including the text to whatever language it is, right? And you can just engineer your prompts to be anything you'd like, apply. And then whenever your variables there, for instance, vGPT language would change, this will kick off automatically this connection, send the request to OpenAI, get back the response right there and then on your analytics app.
And this is pretty much, it's a cut and paste exercise, guys. I'm not a programmer by trade, but I definitely consider myself a cut and paste programmer. And I know enough, to do stuff within Qlik script, which is not difficult at all, right? So a lot of this stuff is already available. This is also inserted from the wizards. When you insert the connection inside the script, you can just cut and paste what is given to you. And, you're basically just passing parameters. Endpoints.script, string right there. That's what they refer to as server-side extensions. That is actually old terminology back in the day when we introduced connectors that worked with third-party providers. It just, people like us just hard to take out of our terminology. But that's when we say server-side extensions, that's what we're talking about. You're just basically calling the connector that's been set up and then passing the parameters to it. And then you have an output or result that gets put back into it.
And that's how amazing our engine is.
Yeah.
Really.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Because we allow the integration, like I said, for row level interpretation, right? And I think that's what the engine does as kind of like a catalyst for these technologies, is it offers that kind of granularity, right? And then from the load editor piece, you can be programmatic and design this however you'd like. We thought it would be cool to add writing styles because we saw, you know, examples of that online, and it fit for the example that we were trying to provide for these users, right? So I think when we talk about imagination, we talk about creativity, we are kind of in that time where you can be very imaginative and very creative in building out these, like I've said, these different experiences. So that's the second one we've did, right? Which is analyzing customer reviews using AI. And the third one is, it's essentially a decision science interface, right? If you think about the users that are using this application, they've just, you know, weeded out low ROI customers. They've just managed, you know, some negative reviews by a couple customers. And now we're, you know, looking at retaining our high ROI customers. That might require a little bit more levers into understanding what can I do to keep this customer, but at the same time, am I giving too much? How do I stay profitable, right? So what we've done is we've just engineered this to be very easy to understand and very clean, right? We're using variables, we're using the machine learning pieces of our ML model to create this predictability. We've brought in some financial data, certain column threshold tables, so we understand where we need to be within profitability. And then again, we've always offered that last mile of, once I change these criteria, like I'm going to change this user's base fee from 40 to 36, I've just essentially halved the likelihood of losing this customer by 40% to 20%, but I'm not really profitable. So I need to move him, right? So we used the red plan to get new customers, and I want to move him to a blue plan because I know that's kind of a longevity plan for us. So just now, right, I've reduced that churn to sub 1%. I've moved my profitability from -1 to +7, right? And he complained about not getting a promotion, so I'll give him a little freebie, right? I've almost eliminated the likelihood to lose this customer to 0.1%, 0.3, 0.13%, and I'm still profitable. I'm still higher than +5, which is what my leadership needs me to be. So what I can do from here is essentially I've used Qlik to build out this decision science, and now I want to automate this into a CRM, right back in the Salesforce, right back in the HubSpot. So again, this is where the automation piece is crucial for, like we say, that last mile, giving your users the ability to update different source systems, make decisions, execute processes, all from the interface of an application. So that's kind of the walkthrough, Mike. If you want to open it up for Q&A, I know we're close to time.
Yeah, I've been answering questions.
Okay.
So I would like to, you know, respond to them live and give you guys opportunities to embellish on top of those as well. Okay, so we're good on that. Rocco, Wadi, I would love to have you guys on again. This was great stuff, and I know our audience members love this technical aspects and stuff like that, and it also inspires them to see how awesome the platform is and how much more they can do. So please, let's do this again, and thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Wadi.
Right.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, take care, everyone. Stay well. We'll see you on the next Do More with Qlik.